the other side, they're my kin, they're my uncles and my brothers, and he's looking at the results of his actions. His mind is going, if I go out there and do this, this will happen, working it out. Krishna's saying, step back, detach from the results of your actions and go with your inner intuition. Krishna is like the intuition. Krishna, because when you go out in service and you perform duty unattached to the results, then you do God's will. And that's when you step into your magnificence. And that is what intuition is all about. And that is a huge ask. But it is a scary place to be if you're not used to being in that place, because we have to let go so much attachment to the end results, to knowing, to needing to know where I'm going and what I'm doing next week, a year from now, 10 years from now. We have to let that go, and that's a scary place to be and be guided. But it's also an exciting place to be. I was in my own life, if something has equal fear and excitement, it's the right thing to be doing. Because what happens is, as you go inward, the fear just melts away really, and the excitement grows and the passion and the energy comes, and before you know it, you're doing things you would never dreamed of doing, and you're going places. I'll tell you an example that happened last week. I have 4 children, and I'm my own with 4 kids, so they all want to go on a holiday, so going on holiday is not really an option financially. So I got onto a website where you swap your home with another family, thinking, well, I only have to pay airfares then. Yeah, I like the idea, the ethos, the trust involved in them coming into my home and me going into their home, and we share each other's homes for that time. So I knew what I wanted, if you like, to the universe. I said, this is what I want. I got onto the website and sent off all sorts of inquiries to potentials, families all over. And then I stepped back and just let it happen. Now, I sent off all inquiries to safe places in France. Places I thought, well, if I've got to take 4 kids on a plane, they're going to be easy to get to. Well, last week I got an inquiry back from a family in Bavaria, up on the border of Austria near the mountains. We love your house in Chester. Do you want to swap with us? I'm like, oh my goodness, okay. Okay, out of my comfort zone here, but let's look at this. 3 minutes from a beautiful lake, 30 minutes from the mountains, an hour's drive from Munich. I looked at the village. It is a beautiful place. The house could not be better set up for my children, complete with football table and everything, do you know what I mean? And I just said, thank you. And we are talking to each other about exchanging. Now, that was me. It was a combination of things. I knew what I wanted. I'd had that intuitive. It came from a meditation. How do I take my kids on holiday? And this idea, this home swapping idea, came up from a meditation. I then did something about it. So I didn't just sit back and say, universe, sort my life out for me. I actually put some energy into it. So I went and I sent out what I thought were options, and the universe said, no, we can do far better than that. Here you go. What has arrived on my plate? It will cost me 4 EasyJet flights. That's £600 for 5 of us to go on holiday in August for 2 weeks to Bavaria. We swapped cars. That's it. How could I have ever come up with that? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But that was stepping back from it and trusting. I knew that if I was meant to go on holiday somewhere, the best place would come up. And I just trusted that. And as soon as the reply came in, it felt right. You know how when someone writes, even though the man is German and English is a second language, his words felt right. You know, the energy behind how he worded his reply. I could tell they were a nice family just from the way he replied. So all of that was just working on this.
That just confirms what you're doing.
Yeah. And of course I'm going to trust that again next time, aren't I? Because that has been, I mean, it could all go pear-shaped, who knows? But if it's meant to, it will. So it's living a spirituality rather than just knowing about it. It allows life to unfold. We relinquish control. So I stepped back and said, no, I want to know where I'm going, when the flights are. You know, how long would it have taken me to work all that out? I would have been on the internet for hours. It's the voice of right intention, thought and action. Your intuition always comes from the very highest in you. So it will always be truth, goodness and beauty. It will always be right and the very highest and best. The key is, and I'm going to talk more about this, how do we sift the wheat from the chaff? How do we know which are the intuitive? So the object of the whole of evolution, this is going back to some of Alice Bailey's writing, is to enhance and deepen our soul's control or contact over its instrument. So if you like, we as a body, as a personality, we have a soul. And in esoteric writings of Alice Bailey, in Treatise on White Magic, she talks about what happens. Actually, I'll talk as I describe this diagram, because this is quite an interesting. Even people who know Theosophy, don't worry about all the detail. I'm going to explain it some more if you've never seen it. But if you just listen for a moment, I'm saying we come down here as this physical body with a personality. And we have a soul. And depending what you believe and how many lifetimes, our soul gradually over many, many lifetimes and much experience and fine-tuning of this personality, our soul starts to make contact. Now it's said that the soul energy comes down into our body through two particular paths. So there's the soul energy that comes through our brain, through into our lower mind, through our rational mind, and activates activity in the body. So we've almost got a consciousness, and we talk about this as consciousness in our mind. We have a consciousness that the soul gradually, as we evolve, starts to be able to imprint on the brain, and we start to listen. Okay? That takes many lifetimes to evolve. But the soul also works through the heart, through the life force energy. And this links up to your what's called your energy body, or your etheric body, your chakras, your meridians, your nadis, the energy, the aura that surrounds you. So the soul speaks through here and through here. These two ways of the soul contacting this personality. And so we go along happily living our lives, life after life, if you like. And we gradually refine this personality until we start to integrate it and coordinate it so that our mind and our emotions are congruent. So that we don't say one thing and do another. We start to walk our talk. We start to become more coordinated, more stable within our, especially our emotional selves. And as that happens, the energy coming from the soul into the heart and the mind builds up until it reaches a crisis point. And this often, if it's in this lifetime, will mean that you manifest a big crisis in your life. And there'll be some kind of recognizable turning point. Some point at which you become aware of your soul. You become aware that there's something higher than you, drawing you. It might be that you get totally disillusioned with life as it is. For many people, it's a suicidal moment, almost. It's that dramatic. They're no longer interested in this world of form, this illusion. They know there's more to life than this, and they seek that. None of this satisfies them anymore. And you wouldn't be here unless you had that kind of calling. And so this crisis point, from that time on, the soul starts to take have more and more influence over the personality. It starts to speak to you through your intuition, more and more through the heart. It is said that a person's energy field, their aura, is a direct reflection of their soul contact. So when you meet someone whose light shines, that's their soul shining out from them. When you meet someone and you like their energy, that's their soul energy. That's why you're attracted to that person's energy, because of that soul contact, that light that's within them. And so this goes on and on. So I'm going to explain this diagram because I wanted you to understand about these two energies, because intuition, especially in the West, is the energy especially that's coming into the heart that we haven't in the past responded to, because we've tended to be up here in our minds too much. We need to pull the two together. We don't forget the mind. We've developed incredible rational minds. The power of concentration is one of your greatest gifts in meditation, for example. You still use your intellectual, rational mind. You do what Einstein did. You allow the intuition to come in, and then you go and use your mind out in the world to pull that intuition into reality, spirit into matter. You do what I did. You get the intuition about the holiday from meditation, then you go out into the world and you use your mind to make it happen. And then you step back and let God do the rest. Yeah. So if God, Spirit, the Logos, whatever the terminology, it's this feeling that there's this unity, that this energy, if you like. Neil Donald Walsh was reading one of his books the other day. It is the life force energy. It is love. So rather than God being this kind of man up in the sky, God is love. God is everywhere. It's more a 60s idea, if you like, all pervasive, omnipresent. We all have a divine spark of that within us. So there is a God within us. And our lives are about finding that and connecting and realizing, remembering, recognizing that we are God, that we are the likeness of God. So if this top triangle represents your soul, we divide it up into three parts, and you'll find this in many different writings. It's in Vedic, it's in Hindu, it's from Theosophy. It comes through in this trinity of the soul, if you like. The highest, the Atma, this is where we experience unity. So it's almost like it's to do with your crown chakra. That's where you have moments of feeling at one with all. In meditation, it's when you feel completely connected. Sometimes this can happen when you're out in nature, when you're at the beach or the mountains. You just feel connected completely and utterly. There is no separation. And this is where your will comes from, your highest will. This is where thy will be my will. This is where the connection with God's will. And I'm going to talk about this in a little bit when I talk about A Course in Miracles. Your buddhi is like your highest heart energy, if you like. So it's the vehicle of your spirit. It's the way that spirit speaks to us. So it's the Buddha within you. You can think of it as a little man sitting cross-legged with a lovely smiley face and a pot belly sitting inside, if you like, if that helps. Connect with that Buddha, because we are all Buddhas. Okay? This is where intuition comes from. It's the silent observer in meditation. So you know when I ask you to step back from your thoughts and just rest in a place that's just watching. Not analysing the thoughts, not thinking about what the noise makes outside, just sitting back, detached. You actually just rest in universal love in that place. And you're not attached to the outcomes of anything, you are just resting in your soul. Because your soul meditates all the time, and when you meditate and step back, you detach and you go back into that quiet place. The silent observer, silent watcher, it's called many things. You just connect and rest in your soul's energy. And that's why it is so nourishing. And you start to see what's going on in your mind. You start to see you are not your thoughts. You are not your perceptions. You are not the information coming in from your five senses. You are not these. You are something that watches those. And when you get a sense of this, you start coming back to that place. You want to go back to that place more and more because it is so nourishing. And you get a sense in time that that is who you truly are, because that is who you truly are. Okay? This place is where you find unconditional love, compassion, forgiveness, gratitude, some of these very high Buddha qualities. Then we divide the mind into two. We have what we call higher manas, or the higher mind. And when you study, especially philosophy or occult classics or anything that really asks some of the bigger questions, when you study things that really stretch your mind, you go up into higher manas, into the vibration that's up here. And scientists measure the brain waves. They can tell you when they can tell you that this is delta and this is theta, and they can measure your brain waves when you're in these places. This is where you find your conscience. That little thing that knocks on your door if you're not doing the right thing. Okay? The higher reasoning, and when I say higher reasoning, the ability just to discern or discriminate, to know a higher right or a higher wrong. Now I'll give you an example of this because people struggle with this one. If through meditation my psychic awareness develops and I start to become aware of things in people that I wouldn't normally be aware of, and I suddenly meet someone and I'm aware that they have an illness that they don't know they have, do I tell them or not? Those kind of questions are up here. Okay? Higher morals, sometimes there's almost, I'm not saying higher than the law, but there are mores, there are higher universal laws. Sometimes it is right and true to break the law of the land because there is a higher moral. Whenever you concentrate, use your imagination, visualization, anything subjective, daydreaming, it's all up here. It's all good stuff. Developing the higher mind, because this is part of the soul. The higher mind is the bridge up here, okay, to this higher energy. Then if we look at our personality as this lower triangle, we have a lower mind. This is the part, the logical, rational. This is the part that gets you up and gets the kids to school and sorts out the insurance and gets the car, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. The decision making, the weighing the pros and cons, some people have got fantastic lower minds, very highly developed, intelligent minds. Other people are more up here, different aspects of mind. Okay. This is where you find your ego. Do you know what I mean when I say your ego? This is your little ego. Up here we have a spiritual ego. This is the na in your head. Okay. In the Buddhist tradition, they call it the monkey mind. Often, depending on how you were brought up and your conditioning, self-depreciating. Quite often the part of you that questions everything you're doing and eats away at your self-esteem. The lovely thing about meditation is that because you step back from the ego, as soon as you recognize the ego, you transcend it. So every time you recognize that you are saying or doing something from a place of ego, of self-interest, you are transcending it because you recognized it. What part of you recognized it? A higher part of you recognized, I did that for my own selfish reasons, not, I went and volunteered for the church to help with this, but really I did it because I wanted da-da-da. I didn't do it from a place of pure service. And we do this all the time, and it doesn't matter, but the key is we recognize it, because when we recognize it, we transcend it. So when you can consciously know you're doing something from ego. You can be completely honest about it. I have a friend he's got the biggest ego and he's well aware of it and quite honest and open about it. And you say, I'm an egotistical, that's how I am. I'm like, well, choose to change that. I am in my own time. Fine, that's very, very honest. It takes a higher level of being to be that honest. Do you know what I mean? Instead of pretending to be very... Yes. Well, yes, he has an honest ego. Down here is your lower emotions. This tends to be to do with this chakra here, the Manipura, the solar plexus. Tend to find here attachment. So this is where we're attached to our desire nature. I want you to love me forever and stay in my life. I want security. I want this. I want that. And unfortunately, fear, anger, these sort of emotions tend to reside down in the lower emotions. And if you like, one of our one of the ways that we bring this whole personality into an integrated whole is we start to transcend those desires, and we start to, the mind, if you like, not controls the emotions, because it's not to shut them off and deny them at all. It's just to step in there and say, stop misbehaving, this is a load of rubbish. Step back from this, you can do better than this. Have you had moments where you've stepped back from your emotions and thought, oh, what am I doing? Quite often, if you're like me with 4 kids, you'll suddenly find one of them set you off, boom, explosion. A whole lot of anger has just surfaced from here, okay? And before you know it, you're ranting and raving. You know you are overreacting. You know they're getting anger that's not fair, that's not directed at them, that comes from a build-up of so many desires from down here. And in that moment that you realise, you can choose. I've actually stepped back and said, look, what you did was really naughty, and I'm really angry with you, but I'm sorry, you got more there than you deserved. And you can apologise to your kids, and they'll be going, what's going on? But what you find, because I was able to do that, there wasn't any ego involved. I was like, I'm the mum who always knows best, and you will do what you're told. I had realised in that moment, or you might realise later and come back, and that's where forgiveness and apologies and I'm really sorry, I overreacted there. I'd had a really bad day and this and this had happened. I hope you understand, but you got way more than you deserved then. Do you know what I mean? Those kind of, that's your mind starting to come in and look at those emotions. Because so much of our emotional reactions are conditioned. And it might be that that person triggered something from your childhood, from a past life. It may be that they pressed a button they didn't even know they were pressing. Something that's really big for you. And cause a big emotional trauma for you. And they're like, what did I do? And you don't even know why you reacted like that. But when you go back and look at it, that's the chance to grow, to transcend. For another person, for you to invite them in deep enough and be honest enough with them, for them to be part of your healing, because it will heal them as well. At the same time, they will understand, oh, when I did that, and it caused that in people, And so it can cause incredible healing. Your etheric body is what I talked about, your energy field. This is your vitality. Chi in Chinese system, Ki in the Japanese Reiki system, Prana in the yogic system, depends what book you read, what it's called. It's where your chakras, your meridians, your nadis, that's your energy body. It's for people who are lucky enough to see auras, it's your aura, or part of your aura. Then you have your physical body, this, well, so-called solid. We know due to quantum physics we're not solid, we're mostly space. This is where we experience, but this is where the information from the senses comes in. So down here we have isolation, up here we have unity. Okay. Now our whole reason for being here, or I should say up here it's wavicular, it's energy rather than solid. There's no time, no dimensions. It's quite a lovely floaty place if you like. Down here it's very dense, we have particles, we are in solid form, there's 3D and there's time, there's more restrictions if you like. But our role, our whole reason for being here is to bring spirit down into matter, to spiritualize the personality, for the soul to take greater contact, to have greater control over the personality. So what happens is as we bring these together, as our lower mind starts to recognize the ego and pull the emotions under a bit more control, as we step back and say, I'm sorry, as we forgive, as we start to live, we understand energy more, we look after our own energy, we recognize that saying no is a very powerful thing to look after your energy. We recognize when we need to give and we recognize when we need to receive. All of these things start to integrate this into one coordinated, integrated whole. When that starts to happen, there develops a bridge between the soul starts to make contact. There develops this beautiful bridge called the rainbow bridge. The rainbow bridge, because of the different colours to do with the rays, it's to do with astrology and colours and different lifetimes that we live. That's a whole nother lecture, so I won't go into that. But this Antikarana. And this bridge at first will be murky, if you like, it'll be dense, it'll be full of emotional garbage, if you like, from many lifetimes, things that still need clearing up. And the intuitive messages from the soul will have a good deal of trouble getting through to be registered by the brain. But as you clear this, as the mud settles, if you like, the messages will come through more clearly. And you can seek them. So when you meditate, not only do you open up and help to clear this bridge and allow these messages to come down, but you can seek guidance from your higher self. You can go deep into meditation and ask a question, which path is the right path for me? And just sit back and
you'll
allow.
be shown and somewhere.
You might not get a message